Hi, my name's Gabby. This is Dr. Cary, and this episode we're going to be talking about the part about running a practice that training never covers.
Right.
We have our webinar on Saturday, August 29th at 8 a.m. Pacific and 11 a.m. Eastern. So what do you mean by the missing semester?
What I mean is a lot of doctors and therapists go to school. They don't really get a lot of training in business. So they learn about the profession, how to treat people. But then when they get out of school, they don't know how to run a practice.
So is this a business course or?
Yeah, partly. I mean, this is going to be business training. It's probably something they should teach at school, but they just don't have the time or the expertise to do that. Mm-hmm. And after 30 years of experience, I've had my successes and some failures. Mm-hmm. So I'm able to help doctors and therapists with their practices.
And who is this for? Do you need to already own a practice?
You don't. You could be a locum doctor, like a relief doctor. You could be an associate. You could be working in an institution and want to get out into your own practice. You could be a partner or associate that wants to develop your own team. So it's for those people.
What about someone that's still in their final year?
Yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, if you're a student and you're graduating and you're kind of keen to get out into practice and start your own, that's a good idea too. I did locums. I took over for chiropractors for the first 3 years because I didn't feel like I had enough experience, right? So that's what I did. But if you're really keen on it and you want to open your own practice, this would be good for you.
Could you walk me through the 4 ways to practice?
Yeah, I think when you get out of school, it is a good idea to do some locums, like do relief work for other chiropractors or other doctors and therapists. You could also join a team, an associateship. There's some pitfalls to that, which we'll talk about today. You could be a partner. You could buy into a practice, or you could own your own practice. So I think depending on your expertise level, your confidence level, it's probably a good idea to start small and then kind of build your way up or grow into it.
You mentioned a contract clause that catches people out. What happens there?
Yeah, I think sometimes what I've seen is doctors and therapists sign a contract. They don't really know what they're signing. So they're kind of like out of school. They're not really aware. They're excited to start practice. They get taken advantage of. They sign a contract that maybe locks them into a 5-year term, or maybe something like a non-compete clause where they can't, if they get out on their own, they can't open their own practice. Those are not good. It's a good idea for you to join us for this webinar because we're going to be talking about that. You want to avoid those contracts because they're really not good for you long term. Even though you might be excited short term, you'll change your mind after a year or two, and then it'll be hard to practice in your area.
Sole trader or incorporate, how should someone think about that?
I think as a sole proprietor, what you want to do is like when you first start, you can start as a sole proprietor because you're not making a lot of income. Yeah. So you're just going to pay taxes on the income that you make. But then as your income level rate rises, and let's say you get over $100,000, then you probably want to consider incorporating. Incorporating kind of protects the money in a corporation, and then you can pay yourself as needed as the years go on. The corporate tax rate is lower than the individual tax rate, the sole proprietor. So if you keep the money in the corporation, you can do things with it. The downfall of that is you have to file a separate tax return. You do need an accountant to do your books for that. So there's some more administrative work. So I would say generally wait till you get over $100,000. Once you're over that amount, that's a good idea.
When should someone make their first hire and who?
Yeah, hiring people you need to do it eventually if you're growing a practice. You can work on your own initially. In fact, my mom was my first employee, so that was kind of nice. And then I had my wife worked in my practice, my mother-in-law worked in my practice. So I think the first thing you want to do is if you have family or friends, it's a good idea to have them in your practice to help you, right? But then as you start growing, there might be certain needs you have. Like, for example, use an accountant or a bookkeeper. You might want to hire a bookkeeper or an accountant. You might want somebody like another professional to work with you, like for us, a kinesiologist, another chiropractor, a massage therapist. So those types of professionals, you might want to hire them to build your team. And then you need more administrative staff or an office manager. So they're all very important hires. I've kind of learned over the years how to do that. I had a company called the Locum service where we did hire professional employees and we contracted them to clinics. So it was like an employment agency. I eventually sold it to one of my employees. And I think we've worked out a system of hiring people now, but you don't know. It seems like over the years, I've gone through periods where we've had a lot of stability, like 5 to 10 years with one person. And then all of a sudden you go through a change and a transition and you're trying to hire the right people for your office. And sometimes you stumble a bit, even though you do the right checks and balances, you still end up kind of tripping a little bit until you find the right person again. So I think hiring's important, doing it at the right time, setting realistic expectations for that person, and then making it enjoyable for them to work in your practice so they stay with you a long time.
All right. And if we're talking about marketing and social media, what actually works?
That's a whole different department, just as important as hiring. So marketing and social media. Marketing is good if you don't have any patients. So if your patients you have a low patient base, like you're just out of school, or maybe you have 50 or 100 patients, and you want to grow to 1,000 patients, then you do have to do marketing. You need to build a critical mass of people, and then you can get referrals from that critical mass, and then the referrals kind of take over for the marketing eventually. But the Google ads, very important for your local area. Facebook's very good too, and Instagram. We do a lot of social media posting now too. Well, Gabby does that actually for us. So Gabby might be a better person to talk about this. But we do a lot of social media posting where we do short clips, where we do image posts, but we also do videos. We've learned things like putting the QR code on the bottom corner of the slides, things like that, that over time can really lead to more clients or more new patients for you.
If someone could only pick one social media, what would you pick?
I really like TikTok. I know it's probably going to be counterintuitive to a lot of professionals out there because a lot of doctors and therapists aren't on TikTok. So you might be thinking this is kind of foreign, but I like TikTok. TikTok gives you some creative freedom, which I really like. TikTok is talking to a younger audience. And if you're a young professional practitioner, let's say you're in your 20s or 30s and you're building a practice, if you're talking to younger people, they're going to be with you a long time, right? So Facebook's good too, but I mean, you're talking to an older demographic, right? So I think it's always best I like to talk to families. I know moms and dads are on TikTok. I know they're on Instagram as well. But if I had to pick one, TikTok seems to be a little bit more flexible. Even the other day when I was doing a YouTube live on the computer, I had the phone set up doing a TikTok live. And no problem. When I try to do an Instagram live, I can't do it because I don't have enough followers. So I'm restricted by that.
You had an advertising account suspended. What happened?
That was kind of a silly thing. And this happened to us about 5 years ago. And then it happened again. And with healthcare, you have to be really careful of what like the words and the images that you use. About 5 years ago, we did a adjustment. We were doing like the way we assess people. And I don't know if somebody complained or something happened, but they restricted our account. So we appealed and they're like, oh yeah, you're a chiropractor. So that makes sense, the image you're using, right? So no problem. 5 years went by. And then recently, earlier this year, we were posting and we had this ad running and we were trying to split test, like A/B test the ad. So we did another image to compare it to our existing ad. When we posted that image and ran the copy to go with it, we got an ad violation and it restricted our account and we haven't been able to restore the account since. And it's just because in chiropractic, the image of doing an adjustment, the patient's lying on the table, you're standing over them doing an adjustment. It may have looked like, somebody was getting hurt or you were like, I don't know, I guess it could have violated some kind of policy, but for us, like it was a normal way of the way we do business here. Like we do adjustments with patients on the table. So just a heads up, like it might be worth being a little cautious with your Facebook ads and Instagram ads because there are restrictions. I know with YouTube, when we do content, they'll tell us to wait and they'll tell us that they're going to check our content before we can go like public with it.
Yeah.
So they'll ask us to go private with our video until they check it, and then they'll give us a couple green check marks just saying, "Go ahead. We've checked it. It's fine."
Yeah.
And then we post it, right? So
Yeah.
we've never got a strike on YouTube, but I have heard of people getting strikes on YouTube.
Yeah.
Too.
And you talk a lot about a slower route, about books, speaking, and webinars. Why bother?
That's a good question. We do a lot of books. You probably can't see them, but they're just over here to the side. Um, the the ads we just talked about, that's a quick way to get new clients, but you have to pay for it, right? And it's expensive. The social media, slower and less expensive. Doesn't cost you anything to post,
Yeah.
other than, you know, the employee that's working for you, or maybe the ad platform, like if you're using like a social media scheduler, right? The books, anything like that, is a lot of extra work because you have to do the writing,
Yeah.
you have to do the promotion, you have to publish it to Amazon, which we've published to Amazon. You have to do the audiobook, like I'll have to come in the evenings and record the audio here in the clinic. The good thing with that is it's got a long runway, like it's there, it's going to be there forever.
Yeah.
So when people are purchasing the book, they're still purchasing my book called Neck Pain, which I did in 2020. It would have been 2020 for that one. So that's 6 years ago. And it's still our best selling book out of all of our books. So people are still buying that and they're still getting the audiobook. And that was 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And we haven't updated it since. So you can see there's a lot of like, it's kind of like evergreen content that's always going to be there. Yeah.
And what happens at this webinar? Who should come?
I think if you're a student, like you said, if you're a doctor or therapist, no matter what kind of doctor or therapist you are, that want to be in private practice, this is a good webinar for you. If you're not in private practice, if you're working as a salaried employee in a hospital, probably not the right thing for you. If you're not a doctor or therapist, you're do something different, probably don't come either, because we're going to be using a lot of medical kind of like scenarios.
Yeah.
But I think within the medical healthcare industry, these concepts are universal. So as long as you're in healthcare and you're working, you have your own practice, or you're a sole proprietor or incorporated, this is for you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Cary. I really hope you guys join us on Saturday, August 29th.
Thanks so much, Gabby.